average consumer doesn't care really about what's in the iPhone. And, well, at least that's what I'm told. I think people are a little smarter than that. I think it's not a caring issue. I think it's an education issue. And this right here is the iPhone 13 for some illustrative purposes. So, talking about the regular iPhone and why nobody cares, which is like the title of the video, is because a couple of reasons. One, they just work. Two, it's the most popular phone in the world. Three, it's a status symbol. Four, green bubble versus blue bubble. And five, well, all the Apple services and everything else. See, Apple learned a long time ago that it wasn't about the phone. It was about the logo on the back of the phone and what it brought to the table. And that's when they started pivoting. Everybody started making fun of, like, oh, they're going to charge us for iCloud storage. They're Apple TV, who wants that? Apple Pay, why do I want to use wireless payment on my phone? Can't I just use my debit card? Like, they always stay like one step ahead of the competition in the ecosphere department, in the services department, and they found a way. They found a way to keep making money off of these phones, even after they're paid off, even after they're obsolete. And that's why they support them for 6 years. See, it's not because it's not because they want to support it for 6 years, but the longer they can keep this phone in your hands, the more ways they can find ways to milk money out of you. Like, oh, it's just $299 a month for the iCloud storage. Oh, you got it full? You only have a 64 gigabyte iPhone? Here, we'll sell you, 500 gigabytes. We'll charge you $5 a month. That's all it costs. Or Apple TV Plus. You can pay a couple, here, we'll give it to you for free for a year. And then it didn't really catch on, so they gave it to everybody for free for like another year. Or if you bought a new phone, or here, 6 months of Apple Music for free when you get a new phone. You get a new pair of AirPods, right? That's how they get you. So they give you these introductory little services and features here and there that you wouldn't have to pay for, because if you got 6 months of free Apple TV Plus or a year of Apple TV Plus, are you signing up for Hulu? No, probably not. If you have 3 months of Apple Music, are you gonna pay for Spotify? Probably not. So you like get de facto sucked into these services, and then it's like, well, forget group messaging, right? Because this is like a dawn of time for the last couple of years conversation with this whole advent of the blue bubble, green bubble stuff, and that has to do with the text messaging. And people know, because if you don't have iMessage, then it shows up the different color on the phone whenever you get it back. Of course, it messes up group text messages and things like that. They're starting to get more alternatives like Beeper and different things, but still, most people are not apt to go get third-party software or do other things, right? So that's the beauty of Apple. They're genius in that way, because they make people not so much care about the phone. They just know they need to have the new iPhone. They don't care that it doesn't have 3 cameras on it. Like, if you hold up this phone and then you compare it to any Android phone that costs $800, there's a lot of features that are missing. No 120 hertz. A lot of them have Quad HD Plus, 1440p. This is barely 1080p, right? So you don't get the higher resolution. You don't get the higher refresh rate. You don't have a 5,000 milliamp battery, which of course you don't necessarily need one in an iPhone. You don't have 3 cameras. You don't have a macro camera. You don't have a telephoto camera. There's a lot of stuff that, when it boils down to it, if this phone had an Android logo on it and you tried to sell it under Samsung, people would laugh. People would laugh. They would go, no, I'm not paying for that. That's ridiculous. But in the iPhone world, nobody cares. And that's what I've been told for like the last week. Basically, shut up and color. There's so many people in the tech space who are like, you don't understand the market. No, I very well understand the market. This phone doesn't sell because it's a phone. It sells because it has this logo on it and all the things I mentioned in the beginning. Status symbol, iMessage, services, all those different things. Like we've covered this at the beginning of the video. That's why people care. They don't care that the new model is going to have last year's processor in it. They don't care it's missing all those other features that I talked about. And I think you should, because I think we should demand better. See, this whole argument with, oh, Apple knows what people want. No, Apple tells people what they want. Apple gives you what they believe you should have and the charging point that they want to make you pay for it. And then they just milk you for services, which is well more than the price for the phone. If you think about it, why do they have so many good deals at the carriers where you can go trade in your iPhone like 11 and basically get an iPhone 15 for free? It's not because of the selling point. It's because they're going to lock you in for another 3, 4, 5, or 6 years, and they're going to continue to get more money from you. Now, you may be one of those people that sits there and go, I don't pay for extra storage. I don't pay for anything extra. And that's fine, but I'm pretty certain you're a minority. And if you're not a minority, then well, Apple's doing something wrong. But I know that they are, because they do this all the time, and that's how they get more money out of people, and that's how they get people locked in. And then they sell you things like the Apple Watch, which, hey, the Apple Watch is really good. I'm not going to deny that. The Apple Watch is really good. It's one of the hardest parts for me to pull myself back away when I switch back and use only Android phones. I test these out. I use them. Well, not this one. I had to steal this from my son for the video and just beat the heck up. But take better care of your phone, son. But yeah, the Apple Watch, once you get that on your wrist, and now the Apple Watch Ultra, which actually lasts like 3 or 4 days, which was my biggest complaint. Yeah, I really like that watch. But I don't really like Apple all that much, and I prefer things like the foldable phones. I like Samsung phones. I like Sony phones. I like not being stuck to my phone because of eSIM. And that was one of the last straws. And they're trying to convince everybody to go eSIM, because once you get your phone an eSIM stuck in here, it makes it really difficult to switch service. So not only are you stuck into a payment agreement, you're stuck into your service. You can't leave because, well, you got to go to your carrier, you got to get a QR code. Your phone you might not even be able to switch it over. So it's just further making it harder to get away from the Apple logo. And that's fine. There are so many people, and I was looking at it, 2022, there were like 80 million iPhones sold. Actually, let me look at the number. It was 72 million iPhones sold in only the US in 2022. 2021, it was 80 million. I mean, Samsung can't even come close to that. With the S21 series, I think they sold like 20 million phones globally. So if you think about it, I mean, Android, I believe, is still the largest platform because they sell everything from $100 to $200 to $300 phones, all that stuff. There are so many of them all over the place. But in the United States, Apple is king. They have such a massive market share here. And not trying to say that it may be the best phone for you. Samsung may not be the best phone for you. Android may not be the best phone for you. These are so amazing when it comes to the ecosphere. And of course, they got the iPad, they got the MacBooks, they got everything. And that's fine. And don't feel bad if you enjoy it. Like, there's nothing wrong about it. There's nothing in this video I'm trying to do to try and make anybody feel bad about what they use, because use what works for you. Use what works for you, what makes you happy, what makes your life easier, what's more convenient. Most people, this is just a commodity. Like, I was on a podcast with Painfully Honest Tech just a few days ago, and we were talking about it, and it's like, they just work. People like them. And that's fine. If you like the iPhone, then enjoy it. I hope it makes you happy. But when I talk about stuff like this and I say, well, it should have at least a 90 hertz screen, it should have a 20 hertz, and then people go, oh, no, if they want that, they can pay more for the Pro model. Most people carrying a Pro model don't care that it's a Pro model. They just want it because it's the best, or it has all the features. And that's fine, you can do that, but I don't feel like all the features are Pro. And Apple makes people feel like they're Pro. And I've heard some people say, oh, it's a Pro model. I don't need that. I'm not a professional. I don't need all that stuff. And, well, I mean, you're kind of right, but it's not a Pro feature. That's just what Apple does to try and distinguish the two phones so they can charge more money for it. Whereas over in the Android world, those things, that's just part of life. If you have an $800,000, $900,000 phone that doesn't have those features, it'll fail miserably, because people in the Android world are much more discerning when it comes to features and tech and new things getting put in their phones. So, all this to say, no, most people don't care about the fact that the new iPhone 15 has last year's chip. It still has super slow charging. It has 2 cameras. It doesn't have a high refresh rate. It doesn't have a high resolution. They don't care. They just care that it has the Apple logo on it, that it works, that it's supported for a long time. They can talk to their friends with their blue bubbles and their green bubbles and not have to worry about any of that Android mess. And then they love the ecosphere. And there's nothing wrong with that. But when it comes to the education part, I'll never stop telling people that I think you're being ripped off from a hardware perspective. But then you don't care. And that's okay. If you care one day, you can come over to Samsung, or you can keep using iPhone and you can, complain about it or whatever. That's fine. I don't know that it's ever really going to change. It's one of those things where it's like they're so big, like 15 people, 15 tech reviewers like me on Twitter saying this isn't cool, is not going to change the status quo. But as long as you're educated and informed and you're making a decision that you're happy with, then that's all that matters. So if you enjoy it, go for it. But just know, it won't fly over in the Android world. And if you ever want to come over, I got a lot of videos we can talk about it. So that's all I've got. If you have any questions or comments, please go to the comments section. I'd love to hear from you. If you enjoyed the video, please hit the like and the subscribe button and the little notification bell if you want updates when new videos come out. And as always, thanks for being here. I appreciate you watching, and I'll see you guys next time.